Hello everyone, Bo here. So I wanted to come on here and talk about something more current that happened more recently, because it exemplifies a problem that I discussed in my last video, or my last uploaded video anyway. Uh, Hopefully this video won't be too long. We'll see though. I guess if you're watching this, you obviously know how long it is. Right, so the problem I'm referring to is the problem of misogyny and low empathy for female people, and that one of misogyny's manifestations is how a female person's youth and, young age often doesn't get factored into her vulnerability as a human, and how the other side of this problem is males being coddled as acceptably and endearingly forever immature. So being framed as like forever vulnerable to female humans who most still subconsciously view through the lens of original sin. So view as like the siren sex regardless of her age. And then kind of like a side note is how, in addition to that, males in those same societies where people think of girls as more mature and more aware and more responsible for situations they get into, especially bad ones, and see girls as more intelligent, though they usually refer to female intelligence as like being manipulative, because misogynistic bias makes people reframe female tied things and qualities as negatives. So women and girls are saddled with all of these labels that suggest they're more advanced and mature than male people. But then society still usually considers men the smarter sex and the more logical sex and the sex that is more fit for leadership roles. So that's just an annoying thing that I wanted to make a video about, actually, because that's a big one. It's tied to how so often feminists, especially lib fems, will like say stuff like, this hurts men too. This hurts men too. This sexism, it hurts men too. And it's like, I don't know about that though, but I'll get into that in a different video. Yeah. So I'm sure the title will give you an idea of what parallel I'm about to draw, but I still want to explain how I got here. So I was on Twitter a few days ago, as I very often am these days, and I saw something like he's 17 or he's just 17 was trending, but I ignored it actually, which I do like half the time I see the trending keywords. But then either that same evening or the next day, I can't quite remember, I saw that Noah was trending with Doja Cat. Like it does that sometimes where it'll say one word is trending and then under it will say with so and such, because the story is like the words are related, and they're so the things are trending together, and that's what was happening here. So their names trending together piqued my interest, so I clicked on it and I read the headline, and at first it made me horrified, because it basically said something like Doja Cat slides into Noah Schnapp's DMs, and I'm like, oh god, oh no, what are you doing? Because like I didn't even know their ages, but I knew he's like a teenager and she's in her 20s. And by the way, in case you don't know, Noah Schnapp he's an actor, and he's from the show, like his biggest claim to fame is a show called Stranger Things, which is on Netflix. Pretty popular. And yeah, and then Doja Cat is a singer slash rapper, kind of. She's like a hip hop pop artist, and like this stuff is probably like, because they're pretty famous, both of them, especially her. So it's, you're probably like, oh, I know that, but you know, you never know what people know. Sometimes people are talking in videos and they mention these young stars that are pretty darn famous that I've never heard of. So just in case you didn't know, that's who they are. One, Doja Cat's a singer, Noah Schnapp's an actor, and here in this moment they were united in a celebrity gossip story, well, that they very much fueled. Um, so, yeah, so I saw that and I thought, oh, like, oh no, what are you doing? What are you thinking? Because, like, my first, like, thought was, like, foreseeing, like, because I saw all the tweets and I was skimming them, and, like, this is all thoughts in, like, a millisecond, well, not a millisecond, maybe seconds, just seeing these tweets about, with these two names, and like, so many likes, and people condemning her. Like, I could already read that without knowing the details, but I could see people, that's why people were saying he was 17, or he's just 17 or something like that, and I'm like, oh no, what have you done? Because, like, they're really gonna come after you. I didn't quite know how old she was, but I'm like, you're older than him, like, old enough for this to feel creepy without even knowing your exact age. And there's also just, like, this thing with Gen Z where, and this is somewhat relevant, but Gen Z seem to be like Amber Heard's biggest vilifiers after like overtly misogynistic millennial men. And like the thing with Gen Z and overtly misogynistic men, regardless of generation, is that they seem to always have this urge to make an example of a woman, like, so going extra hard at women, but only women, because they never do this for men. They never go extra hard or minimally hard at men, I notice. And so they do this, they have this, like, energy, this, like, high energy to, like, drag women who transgress, particularly when they transgress against men or are accused of bad behavior towards men, Amber Heard style. And I think it's because of how there are these nefarious ideas that gender ideology propaganda and right-wing like male supremacist propaganda push, that teach and push that male physical advantage over females is either non-existent or unimportant, and that female people aren't particularly vulnerable to male people, so don't need safeguards, and that men are unfairly assumed more dangerous and violent than women, and that DV and abuse patterns aren't gendered or sexed, and that female abuse victims are always believed and abusive men are more socially ostracized than abusive women are. They have a lot of wrong and dangerous ideas, dangerous particularly to women and girls. But anyway, after reading the headlines and the top tweets more carefully, I realized that the story was that Doja slid into Noah's DMs to ask him to tell his Stranger Things castmate, who I think is called something Quinn, Joseph Quinn, who I remember reading is like 28, 29, to hit her up. Like, she literally writes in her text to Noah, something like, tell so-and-so to hit me up. And, you know, I can't decide if that's weird or not to contact, like, a 17-year-old. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. But regardless, the thing that made it a story that was like trending on Twitter is that Noah Schnapp, while live on TikTok a few days ago, shared with his fans screenshots of Doja's texts or DMs to him. And I guess they were meant to be private, so I won't share them, but they were pretty innocuous, I think. It was just something like, hey, tell Joseph Quinn to hit me up. And then Noah was like, you tell him yourself. Go and get in his DMs. And then she's like, I don't know what his contacts are or what his contact info is. I don't think he has Instagram, something like that. Then Noah sent his Instagram, a link to his Instagram to uh, Doja, and that was it. And I don't know, to me that's like not a big deal. Now that I've sat with it for like my initial reaction was like, that's weird a little bit. But then I'm like, but isn't it, it's like, I don't know, these are like Hollywood people and they're just talking to each other and it's like, I don't know, she didn't get creepy with Noah, so it's like, it's really whatever. Um, but the more significant part of the story to me was learning as I read people's tweets that he was the reason that he's just 17 or he's 17 or he's only 17 or whatever it was trending because people kept writing this. They wrote it so much um, to argue that Doja was in the wrong for sliding into his DMs at all, making any kind of request. They were arguing that he's far too young to be like contacted in that way by an adult. And then they were saying she was even more wrong later for discussing what happened, for responding to it, like talking about it on a live on, I want to say, Instagram, and that she was wrong for implying in her live that she felt her confidence was betrayed. Uh, like she opened the discussion, her response to him sharing this on TikTok with saying stuff like, felt very female socialization-y, just like, you know, considering his age and telling people to be mindful of that, and you know, saying you know, we all do silly things when we're young and he's young, and a lot of that. But then was the but where she also said that what he did seemed like snake shit. And yeah, people were, they felt that was too harsh of language. You can watch it yourself if you care to. It's whatever, because that's not even the point. But yeah, people were upset, but the relevant part is how upset people were and critical. Like, I don't think they're going to hold this too against her. Uh, I could sense the bias towards Noah. Overwhelmingly, he was the one supported. Overwhelmingly was the protective thing, and people of all ages saying, he's just 17, why are you even contacting him? That was the overwhelming sentiment, and that the feelings that she shouldn't even feel betrayed because she was in the wrong to initiate this contact was the overwhelming feeling. Though there were a few people who were like, oh, I get her, because, I mean, she has fans too. That's like a woman's saving grace in these situations, is to be famous too. Then people are like, then you'll get a little bit of support. And also the thing she did was not like so egregious that people are like gonna cancel her. There's just no argument to be made for that, I don't think. We'll see, I guess, but I don't think that's what her fate is from this. But yeah, so the online atmosphere was basically filled with people feeling that his age was too young for him to be contacted about such a thing at all, and she was too old to again have sought him out. And people kept saying like he's too young to really know any better about how to handle that situation. and how to handle being presented with that information that someone has a crush on your coworker. And, but anyway, so fast forward to the next day where I'm on Twitter. Like, I guess I left that alone and then I went off on my merry way. But then the next day I was on Twitter again, and I see in my feed someone responding to a screenshot of a tweet. So like I follow, basically my follower list is overwhelmingly these three categories. It's gender critical / J.K. Rowling supporting people, Meghan Markle supporters, and Amber Heard supporters. So this was like a quote tweet from an Amber supporter, and the tweet being criticized read, mind you, Winona opened her legs for Depp to advance her acting career. She wasn't completely innocent and taken advantage of like her fans say. So if you don't know, Johnny Depp and Winona Ryder dated when he was 26 and she was 17. According to both of their accounts over the years, basically he love bombed her in the beginning to get her, as abusers and predators often do. Then he proposed to her after like 5 months into their relationship. So when she was like 18, I guess, or still 17, I'm not sure. And in interviews in the past, she's described him as her first everything, her first boyfriend, her first fiance, her first sexual partner. And this is 17, 26. And then after their relationship ended, like, because their relationship was like 4 years, so she was 21 when it ended, she said that she had to check herself into a mental institution because that relationship messed her up so badly. But back to this disgusting text. It tracks that Depp fans would think this way, but it's still gross and infuriating to be reminded of, as well as reminded of how unsafe girls are in this world, because this cretin isn't even close to the only one who thinks like this about girls. Like, the left is Cuties and is drag shows. Cuties, the movie that was so unnecessary on Netflix. And I know a lot of lefties criticized it too, but it's like it was also defended and pushed by lefties, and when they're not doing something as overt as that, they do push like drag shows for children, which I have issues with for a number of reasons, because they often are sexualized, and it's just this weird, what is the message here? Like, you're making a spectacle of looking like the way women are conditioned to aspire to look. You're presenting children with the spectacle version of it, and they're very aware, even like 5, 6, you know men from women. You know your dad from your mom, you know your uncles from your aunts. So they're very aware that a man is dressed in like as a woman clown, like it's clownish, because like normal women who these children see every day, they don't quite look like this, but I can tell what you're going for. Even, children can't articulate it like this, but they know, okay, so a man is dressed as like a woman clown, like their makeup is crazy, they're like trying to go for a womanly look, and like, what is this? What is this for? What is this teaching them? But that's not what this is about either. So I was just saying, the left kind of has Cuties, has drag shows, and then like the right, I don't know, they'll like sort of pretend to have this idea about protecting girls and girls like innocence, their sexual innocence, doing these purity balls where they make girls like promise to be chaste with their fathers, or like promise their fathers to be chaste, and they wear these rings, and it's just so unnatural, and it's just so creepy, and it's just so one-sided. Obviously, like, there's no mother-son purity balls, And it's all just creepy and performative because right-wingers, they are like some of the biggest proponents of getting girls married off young and making babies ASAP. Like that's one of their things. And the more religious, the more they want to get girls starting to, I don't know, repopulate their societies, as you know, get in as many babies as you can before you die, seems to be where their thinking comes from. And that, and like the breeding part, but also like these older men are lusting after girls is the like even a bigger part of it. So and that's the thing. It's like the left and the right, they both betray kids, especially female kids. Like protecting girls is borderline a radical act these days. And it's a radical act because we live in a world where female child brides have always existed in every part of the world, and much of the world has actually almost always prioritized men's selfish lust and his desire to breed and use girls and young women sexually over the girl's desires or her safety or her equanimity or her mental wellness. The West seems to be sliding backwards into this old pattern of girls having no advocacy as female children and primarily existing for male use and male validation, like that one 13-year-old girl who had to compete against the like 20-something-year-old skater guy. And like it's that thing where like on the left, your girls are like being really like that was always the bad part. That was always one of the bad parts of female socialization. This like minding the feelings of males to a fault, being nice. Girls are taught to be too nice, and now they're really ramping that up by telling girls to ignore their instincts when it comes to men and boys and their spaces. Then there's stuff like how Roman Polanski was treated by his peers for the most part, with support, including Johnny Depp. I mentioned that I think in the last video I uploaded. And if you don't know, he raped a 13-year-old and I think he was found guilty, and then after he was found guilty is when he fled to, I believe, France. France, a safe haven for pedophiles and rapists. Then there's the stuff that's like more personal, cultural stuff that I grew up with as the norm. That it's like these coded ways of saying that the girl is more responsible than the man, where like girls are called fast or slutty for their attire and for how it makes men feel about them and their bodies, and how girls are like raised to see their bodies through the lens of a perverted man, basically, to see their breasts as like, and their chests as these playthings for men before they see them as just their own bodies. You learn that they're taboo before you learn that they're yours, and for some never learn that they're yours. So some girls, especially girls in every religion, especially if it's like a more strict version of the religion, Islam, Judaism, Christianity, a lot of girls of those faiths are taught like your body is for your husband. So fun being a girl. I don't understand why there's so many non-binary and trans men all of a sudden. That's crazy. Girlhood is awesome. Anyway, and then there's the social norm of protecting grown men who violate and traumatize children, which is done all the fucking time. Need I remind you, Prince fucking Andrew and the whole of the Catholic Church. And it's just like random stories I've heard where this one priest, he like raped a like 13-year-old girl, or no, 12-year-old girl in like a Baptist church in like Alabama. And he got her pregnant, and then the solution by the congregation was that she should be married to him. And I saw her do an interview. I want to, like, if I'm saying a thing, I want to share it, cite it. So it's just because it maybe won't be that hard to look that up and find it. I'll try. But yeah, that happened. That happened a lot. And then the comments were saying, "Oh, I know this time that this happened," and I've seen a few stories like that. I've seen like stories of like random American churches where the pastors are just preying on the children, the girls in the congregation, but that's also not what this is about. So back to the tweet about 17-year-old Winona Ryder. It made me curious about how her relationship with Depp was regarded. Were people generally critical of it? I didn't see any hints of that during the trial because he was a god in their eyes and he could do no wrong. Even when he did wrong, a million excuses. Those like clips of the heinous things he said, the responses are like major deflection, and it does feel like overwhelmingly Gen Zers. And I soon found out overwhelmingly the sentiment was it was basically split between two horrible reactions from Depp fans anyway. It was either he was a sweetheart romantic who did no wrong, or it was kind of wrong but it was equally her fault, so whatever. And that's about it with the Depp fans, who are numerous. So yeah, Depp did nothing wrong was the overall sentiment. So naturally it occurs to me that I just watched Gen Z, or what seemed to overwhelmingly be Gen Z, freak out over Doja Cat even messaging a kid, Noah Schnapp, and call it, the act itself, inappropriate, and go like immediately to protecting the male half of that dynamic. But when the actress playing his mom, which is just a weird coincidence in all of this, that Winona Ryder plays the mother of Noah Schnapp in Stranger Things. But yeah, when the actress playing his mom was messaged and pursued romantically by a man Doja's current age, because another weird coincidence is that she's 26, just like Depp was when he and Winona started dating. I know. But yeah, so what was I saying? That I watched Gen Z freak out over Doja even messaging a kid and protect him and consider his age and be very empathetic towards about him and his youthful bad decision making. But then when the 17-year-old in question is female, specifically the actress playing his mother, Winona Ryder, and she experiences the equivalent of someone sliding into her DMs, except it's to woo her sexually, the male half of that dynamic is still the half that people defend and protect from criticism. That's male privilege. That's male power. That's misogyny. And all three working in tandem. People are protective over a 17-year-old boy, even being engaged with at all by a 26-year-old woman, but romanticize or shame a 17-year-old girl actually being sexually pursued by and having her first sexual experience with a 26-year-old man. This is why actual feminists, aka female advocates, need to exist. someone has to have the backs of girls and women, especially ones who experience male violence and male manipulation. Someone has to be willing to call out the bad men, because a lot of times men are not up to the task. They don't want to. It doesn't favor their sex when they do that. And yeah, there are exceptions, but not enough. As things are, it's way too imbalanced in favor of males and male supremacy. And it's this thing where, like, male lies and propaganda about how men are actually the disadvantaged sex, they work too well on the masses. It's like a guy can just say a thing without facts. He almost never needs facts on his side to amass a following. And then there's a danger to this, like, because men are doing this pity party thing, and they use that rhetoric, and the pity party, like, it precedes misogyny. It's like men get a rough deal, and that's why I hate women. And then when horrible things are done to women, or they do horrible things to women, it's like justified in their minds. Like, we live in a world where men routinely kill, well, each other, but women too. And so this stuff is not nothing, it's dangerous. And it's not treated with the gravitas that it should. It's not treated as threatening as it should. So that's relevant because it's dangerous when men are more like, they're like beholden to their religious beliefs. And that can be literal religion or just some belief system that's nonsense, that is akin to a religion, that is faith-based.
You don't need that sign. That sign doesn't do anything for anyone. You're just hating on people for no fucking reason.
Lady, are you being violent to these
young
people?
Lady, it's not transphobes. Transphobes, go home. Transphobes. Go home, transphobes.
Okay, get the fuck out. Get the fuck out.
What was this? Let's go.
I don't mind. Fucking leave them. I just don't want to see their meeting. I don't give a fuck, bitch. Get out of here. Get your pussy ass out of here, bitch.
There's a difference.
Nobody gives a fuck. You can walk away. Get the fuck out.
LA County DA's office has filed charges against the person accused of indecent exposure in a women's locker room at a Los Angeles spa. You may remember the incident back in June touched off protests outside the We Spa in Koreatown over transgender rights. Police identified the person involved as 52-year-old Darren Morager of Riverside County. Morager, who has been a registered sex offender since 2006, now faces 5 felony counts of indecent exposure. Morager, who claims to identify as a female, also faces charges from another locker room incident in 2018 and has a long criminal history.
So you tell them a fact, you present statistics, and they don't care. They still feel how they feel, and their feelings are what matter the most. So that's all I wanted to say for now. Thank you for listening. Like, comment, subscribe. Hoping I can finish this next video sooner than later. Yeah. See you in the next video. Bye.